Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our preview series on our Raw Reaction show. Looking ahead to the next Arsenal game, getting your thoughts in our chat box, looking at predicted lineups, predicted score lines, and ultimately having a bit of a chat about what is going to happen in the next game. It's Arsenal-Newcastle. It's a repeat of the fixture, which we had to take extra time to get through. So fingers crossed Arsenal can do it in 90 minutes this time. But let's crack on with the show and talk about everything regarding the match. Okay, so in terms of Arsenal-Newcastle, it's difficult to predict because there's a couple of players that we're still kind of waiting on in regards to fitness. We've been given the all clear from the club in terms of Martinelli, who will be available for selection, which is great news. Kieran Tierney is still being assessed, is what we're being told ahead of the game. So we're still a little bit up in the air as to whether or not he is going to feature. He is obviously going to be hugely key as to whether Arsenal can do it. But it's great to have Martinelli back. Ankle injury. I mean, me, myself, have suffered now an ankle injury. Went out for the second run of this determination to get fit by the wedding next year, and 1.5 kilometers in, and I turned it. Exactly the same as Martinelli, and I had to get picked up, which was absolutely fantastic. I mean, as my pride went completely out the window, and now I've got an ankle that's the size of a balloon. But thankfully, my injury is a lot worse, seemingly, than Martinelli's, who has come back in straight ahead of it. I'm well aware that I'm recording this straight before the match between Manchester United and Liverpool. I wanted to get in just before it kicked off, so I will be off before that starts. And if you are watching on playback, of course, thank you anyway for tuning in, and make sure you leave a comment in the description about what you think the scoreline might be in ahead of that game. So let's have a look at the opposition's lineup in terms of a prediction about what we might expect from Newcastle. I've had a look in a couple of places trying to look ahead and try and predict how they might set up and how they might play. And this is kind of the general consensus about of what they could do. Darlow in goal, which is different, of course, to what we experienced because we only played against Depravka, who's previously their number one keeper. And Darlow has done very well since coming in. So fingers crossed we can see him being back to his backup goalkeeper self. But he has looked very good since coming in for Newcastle. Joel Dummett, and Kieran Clark. Is it Kieran Clark? I want to say it's Kieran Clark. Fabian Schär, and Yedlin are the back four. With Hayden, who of course is a former Arsenal player, Hendrick, Almiron, Wilson, Joe Linton, and Longstaff making up the rest of the team. Now, Almiron is like, I barely realised he was even playing in the last game against us. He didn't do a thing. Joe Linton looked a little bit lively, which is a different kind of front for him. He's not the most active on the pitch. It's probably a fair assumption of him, to be fair. And it's just one of those that I look at as a real failed signing, and one which you have to look at as kind of a barometer of bad signatures to make, and it gives you a little bit of a red flag and go, well, if they're going to spend 40 to 50 million quid on Joel Linton, it makes you think, right, I need to be a little bit more careful about where and who I sign in the transfer market. Thank you for all the kind words about my injured ankle. Thank you. I will take the advice. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll move past it. I'm not going to stick around with the Newcastle stuff for too long because I want to get onto the Arsenal stuff and get your thoughts on the lineup as well. Now, the biggest omission from the team is, of course, Aubameyang. Do I think Aubameyang's going to get dropped? Honestly, no, I don't. I still think that he is going to play. It's exceptionally likely that he still plays this game, but he just doesn't deserve to, for me. I think he needs to be taken out of the firing line a little bit. He needs to be just kind of given a bit of a reality check and go, look, if you're not going to perform, you are going to get dropped because there are players that are willing to come in and take your place, like Martinelli, etc. And I think that he just certainly for me, we need that player in there. Kieran Tierney is obviously a big kind of question mark in a way, because we don't know whether he's going to be back. And if he plays, that's why Xhaka's in there. I'm well aware that Ceballos had a very good first half against Crystal Palace. But Xhaka is key to unlocking the best from Tierney. His left-footed passes in behind are absolutely key to getting the best from Kieran Tierney. It is beyond question that Xhaka has to play alongside Kieran Tierney until we can get an upgrade in that position and a left footer in that position, because it's so key for the tactical side of the game on the left-hand side of the pitch to have that. Gabriel coming back in for David Luiz, who I didn't think had a terrible game, but his passing was pretty off. And I'd like to see Gabriel come back in and nail that place down once again. Rob Holding and starting, I mean, arguably with, well, you got Bellerin and Holding there and Xhaka as possible captains without Aubameyang playing. I'd give it to Holding or Bellerin personally as captain. I know a lot of people aren't too keen on the Spaniard. But that's who I'd be giving the armband to, Bellerin being there on the right back. Partey coming in for his first start since returning is massive for us, and fingers crossed he can come in and do fantastically. He, of course, I say of course, you may not even know, but in the small cameo that we saw him in against Crystal Palace, he had the second amount of successful tackles in the entire game behind Granit Xhaka with 4. He made more tackles than anyone bar Xhaka in just a small cameo that he had when he came on the pitch. So that shows you how important Partey is in our defensive side of our game and progressing the ball up the pitch. Let's have a look to what you guys are saying in the chat box. Vinny says Xhaka was decent last game. Be interesting to know how many tackles he made, and his passing was direct and forward thinking. Well, he made the most tackles of any player on the pitch last game, which is an incredible amount, especially for us. So there's your stat regarding him. Christopher Fung says Laka was poor last match, to be fair. I think he was poor because he's one of those strikers that will come deep, and he wasn't given any kind of the chances that we've seen him previously in the games that he's done quite well in. Aubameyang as well on that left-hand side just doesn't seem to work quite synergetically with him either in these last few matches. So I'm still starting Lacazette because I don't think anyone else comes in that position for me, and Nketiah certainly doesn't. Aubameyang doesn't for me either. I want Lacazette in there and working with Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka. Emile Smith-Rowe in himself has a question mark above his head because he's played so much football. You have to turn around and think, do you start him again? Do you keep on playing him? Is he going to burn out? Because he looked like a bit of a burnt out player in the last game. Mike Ananda says, was just catching up on your last pod, and then this one shows up. So you'll have to go back. Sorry, Mike. You're going to have to tune in for that one after this one's finished. Dan says, where's Willian? I mean, I can't believe I've not put Willian in this team. The Arsenal Misfit says there is only one player who deserves to be captain in that lineup, and that is Tierney. It's a good shout. I obviously would love to give Tierney the armband. I just don't think it's realistic in terms of what Arteta is going to be picking. I don't think he's ever been given the armband as of yet, even as kind of the sub going off him being given the armband. I've not seen it yet. Hence why I think one of Holding or Bellerin will get it. Kieran Clark says Xhaka and Partey don't seem to have chemistry. And this thing, I've seen a few people tweet this. We've barely seen any kind of examples of this. Like, we haven't seen enough of them playing together to have a definitive conclusion on the pair. They played together against Aston Villa, and he had to go off halfway through that. They played with each other against Leicester, and we lost that game. But we haven't seen enough time. And for them to really form that partnership, the only way that you can get that is if you play them together for a significant amount of games, for a run of games. And that's the only way you're going to build up that kind of connection between the two. But Kieran goes on to say, no idea why, but last game looked horrible. I would play Xhaka and Sabas, honestly speaking. What do you think? Well, as I said, Partey, when he came on, had the second highest amount of tackles in our entire team since coming off the bench in that short 20 minutes that he got. So him and Xhaka, who had the most tackles in that game, I think it's a partnership that is exceptionally good at winning the ball back and recovering possession and bringing the ball forwards. So for me, it's got to be those two together. Andy B says Xhaka won't pass to Partey like Pepe won't pass to Bellerin. I don't think we've seen them enough together to know if this is the case or not. But we'll have to look and see if they do play together, how they play together. Wilson says, hi, Tom. Great content as usual. Thank you, mate. Omar says, I'm giving Partey time to get back to match fitness. That's fair enough. Dan says, Xhaka will make Partey look like John Fleck. I mean, not even in the same position. Sad Chester says this team fit for a full EPL season. What place do we finish? Is a good question. You have to say we'd at least be going to top 6 and really pushing. But you'd need the quality backup for me. You need the quality backup for Leno, the quality backup for Emile Smith-Rowe, the quality backup for Lacazette and the wide players. It needs so much more because even substitutions are important. So I understand with the question, but you just, for me, need the depth in the squad. David says, if Mainsley were to get an extended run in the team, in what position would you like to see it happen? Would he work as a centre midfield partner to Partey? And I'm in agreement with you. If you are going to play him, it has to be in midfield. It can't be in one of the fullback positions. You can only play him in a wing-back position when we play a back three, and we're just not doing that now. So I don't understand how you would fit him into the team otherwise, is how I would see that personally. Juan says, do you have an alternative lineup? Considering that the next game is the FA Cup, I think we will go strong tomorrow and change for that. You might see some other players come in. In my kind of prediction of what Arteta will do, I think that Martinelli will be on the bench and he will come back. I'd be very surprised to see him start, but fingers crossed he does, because I think he makes a big, big difference in the team. Mike Hernandez says, we have a bloated squad, but as Tom pointed out, it's bloated in the wrong ways. No cover for centre mid, left back or attacking midfield, only 15 defenders. And that's why Edu is working very hard to move players on, which we're, fingers crossed, going to see more of before the end of the window. Kieran says, good content as always, but I'm personally going to watch this later, going to watch Liverpool game. That's fair enough, mate. It is going to kick off in a few minutes, and I'm going to jump off in a second to watch that as well. I just wanted to jump on and give you guys the preview before the game. Fingers crossed Liverpool can get a result. We don't want to see United winning this whatsoever. Wilson says Aubameyang has to be dropped because he has been in poor form, to be honest. Jermaine says Xhaka, Partey with Ceballos as an attacking mid. We tried that against who was it? We tried it against, was it Leicester? And it didn't work at all. John Cleary says, what? No Ozil in the team? No chance. Vinny says views on Chambers at right back. Well, I mean, the amount of criticisms that Bellerin got about going forwards, if you're expecting more from Chambers, I don't know what you're going to expect from that, because if your biggest criticism of Bellerin was how he was going forwards, Chambers is not going to give you anything extra. In fact, he's only going to give you less than what Bellerin will. He'll give you more maybe defensively, although based upon Bellerin's defensive performance against Crystal Palace, he was arguably a better defensive display than I've seen of Chambers. So I don't think I'll be putting Chambers at right back, to be honest. I think that's very much a kind of a new toy syndrome. We haven't seen him in a while. He must be better than what we've got. And no, I'm not dropping Bellerin. I'm just not dropping Bellerin for this game. If he has a bad display, we'll call him out after the game and we'll criticise him in the right way. But for now, he keeps that place after the performance, for me, that he put on against Crystal Palace. Hey, Ross, hope you're well, mate. Balaji said opinions on the future of Chambers and Mainsley. Chambers, I think, will probably go. And I also think that Maitland-Niles may also go in the summer. I think that's two players that will certainly be moving on very, very soon, is my kind of prediction on that. No, Chris, I will not be wearing my striped shirt, which for some reason makes me look like I'm wearing a Newcastle shirt whatsoever. Anyway, that's going to wrap up today's show. There isn't going to be another one this evening. I've got a busy evening ahead and plenty of football to watch as well. We will be back tomorrow. I should be joining Hugh, as far as I'm aware. The unbeaten streak goes on, and we aim to keep that going. So fingers crossed we can get the winning run back on the start again. But if you could drop a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it, guys. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Check out yesterday's podcast with three of my fantastic members, Pablo, Rahil, and Jared as well. So thank you so much for those guys. They were brilliant. So check out that pod, talking about Ozil leaving in a lot more detail. And yeah, I'm going to be looking to do a few more members pods because it was great, really good fun chatting to you guys. So I plan on doing more of those. I will see you again very, 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 very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.